Odell Beckham Jr. is not in the last year of his contract. There are issues there in Cleveland, and yesterday both Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield were available to media because they play Thursday night, so the calendar of when guys talk gets adjusted. Here's Odell Beckham Jr. discussing his chemistry or lack thereof with quarterback Baker Mayfield.
I think once I get you all, the world, everyone to understand that I care about one thing, and that's winning and producing, I think that you'll be able to see some of the other actions and look at it from a different perspective than a perspective of a lot of the names and attachments that have been thrown on me in a way.
Yeah, I understand that, and I hope that Odell Beckham Jr. is maturing to the point where he doesn't get upset because he's a focal point of attention, because he's craved that attention throughout his career. But the production's just not there.
No.
And, Chris, I watched that game last night.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr. dropped a pass at a key moment in the game.
Right, third and two, right? Yeah.
Right. And let me set it up. It was 10-6, because this wasn't a blowout.
Right.
It became a blowout. It was 10-6, and the Browns were embarking on a drive, and they were starting to make some hay. Odell Beckham Jr. got a horrible, for him, face mask call, caught a short little screen pass and grabbed the defender's face mask, sets him back 15 yards, 1st and 29, became 4th and 41. Then they get a punt down to the 1-yard line. Hey, we're in business. We stop and we get a short field. Maybe we can take the lead. Well, that's when the Ravens drive all the way down the field, 99 yards, and make it 17-6. And then the Browns offense woke up, and they're moving down the field. And they've got 3rd and 2 at around the Baltimore 20. And Odell Beckham Jr. does the ran before he had it thing, embracing the inevitable contact before he secures the ball thing, something that no receiver making that kind of money should ever do. Drops the pass, they miss the field goal, floodgates open, game over. That was the key moment, and that's on Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, that is. There's no denying that. I saw the play happen out, saw it play out in real time on Sunday, going, man, that's just going to make things harder. Because I think, Odell Beckham Jr., first off, and the Baker Mayfield, we've talked about it a lot. The connection's never been good ever since he's gotten there. I mean, it's never really clicked. And then I think it, kind of compounds itself because Odell then doesn't get the ball. And then when he sees the ball coming his way, he wants to do so much with it because he hasn't had the ball. So there, like you said, he's got some of the greatest hands we've ever seen, but then he makes a drop where you go, how can you drop that? I mean, a 4th grader would have caught that. But it's because he's trying to make something happen, and it just doesn't seem like they click in Cleveland. I don't know. I don't know where this goes. And, I saw what you wrote and, even heard what you said a little yesterday, but on the power rankings, it seems like everything in Cleveland went wrong ever since Odell Beckham Jr. went there. And I don't like to say that, and I'm not going to necessarily agree with you, but I know what you're saying. They have not been able to click ever since he's been there. And I think it's put more pressure on Baker Mayfield, one, because he feels like, whoa, I got these weapons around me, so I got to start playing good. And then, two, as we've talked about before, when you have a great receiver in your quarterback, you want to make him happy and you want to make it work so bad. It's like that best friend that you're like, oh, he's so cool. I hope he likes me as much as I like him. And when you throw the ball, I had these feelings when I first threw the Keyshawn and Joey Galloway and other, Tim Brown, where I wanted to throw every ball so perfect so they like me. Oh, please hit him right in the chest. And I think that's all just been an issue there. But when the hell's it going to get fixed? And I think we're getting towards danger zone time here to where I go, okay, maybe it's, I don't know, another few weeks, I might just go abort mission. Let's put Odell Beckham Jr. on the trade block and let's move on. Cleveland, Odell, and let's go.
Yeah, I think that they already should come to that conclusion. And remember, there was a report in the offseason that the Vikings and the Browns were talking about an Odell Beckham Jr. trade, and that went away as quickly as it emerged. But I don't believe that report was inaccurate or made up or fabricated. I think the Browns, considering all their options, considering the reality that the chemistry just isn't there between him and Baker Mayfield, and it's not going to be. And let's hear directly from Baker Mayfield on that point, Chris. He was asked yesterday, can there be a tricky balance between wanting to get OBJ the ball and needing to get him the ball? Here's Baker Mayfield's response.
I think it has to come naturally. Obviously you game plan and you scheme up things to get the balls in your playmakers' hands. But then when it comes to game time, they're going to give us certain looks that might take that away. You know, we had a couple plays for him early on, and the Ravens did a good job of taking that away. So we had to go through the reads and get the ball in other guys' hands. So it's just, when it comes to game time, yeah, you can practice, and you might have a certain look all week in practice, but then come game time, they might show you a different thing, and you got to react and play and just move on. It's got to come naturally.
He's absolutely right. And that's the way it should be. Remember the Randy ratio?
Yeah.
You can't force the ball to a certain guy,
right.
A receiver. It's one thing to say we want to get our running game going and we're committed to our running game. That's easy to do because they can't keep you from handing the ball off to a running back.
Yeah.
They can keep you from getting the ball into the hands of a receiver. And the more urgency you express as a team to get the ball to a certain guy, the defense knows what's going on. What are they going to do? They're going to design plays defensively to take that away because they know you don't just stop that play, you create frustration.
Yeah.
You prevent that chemistry from happening. And hey, look, the question I raised, Chris, March of 2019, is Cleveland big enough for both Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr.? And it's possible that those two just never clicked.
Yeah.
That Mayfield resents this expectation that he's got to get the ball to one certain guy. We got all these weapons. Just let me get it to the guy who's open and not be stressed out about trying to get it to one guy.
Yeah, well, I know, and hopefully he's not. And again, I don't look at it as like a personality thing. I don't think it's like ego, we can't fit together. I know.
I
maybe
think there's stuff going on behind the scenes we don't know about.
Well, maybe
that we'll
there
find
is.
out about when it's over.
No, you're right. We might. You're right. I haven't got that sense in the media or just but what we see, in a topical view here, like we do. Okay, but I do certainly recognize there is an issue with the connection. I mean, when Odell's open, even last year we talked about this. Baker would miss him. And then Odell would be covered and he'd force it to Odell. And then, then it would be two go routes on each side. And the last two connections didn't work with Odell. So it's like Baker was scared. So he just went over to Jarvis Landry. And that was the play. Oh, Odell's wide open. He's gone for a touchdown. And it's unreal. And then to your point with the offensive thing and all that, listen, you made a lot of good points. And I agree with just about everything you said. But at the same time, they haven't been with an offensive guy that really knows how to use a guy like Odell Beckham Jr. anyways. I mean, we know Michael Thomas is getting the ball every week in New Orleans, and what happens? Sean Payton gets him the ball. So between Freddie Kitchens and now a Kevin Stefanski, who has not really shown to be that type of guy or run that type of offense either, I don't know if it does fit. I don't know where this goes, but I'm going to have my eye on it because I'm starting to feel like you are. I love Odell Beckham Jr., but it just doesn't seem like it is working. And if it doesn't start to work soon, I might join in the choir with you and go, okay, Cleveland, just cut your losses, see what you can get for this guy because I think he'll still command a pretty little asset as far as on the trade market, and you move on with life.
Send him to New England and unite him with Cam Newton. He's desperately wanted to go to the Patriots. Give him what he wants. Get what you can for him and move on.
That's
right,
what's
Chris?
crazy. Yes, I agree. And you know what's crazy is this year right now, we can look at like 4 marquee teams that I go, they could use Odell Beckham Jr. Like you just mentioned one of them, Cam and the Patriots, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. And I had another one, and I blanked out. But let's just go with those 3 because that's pretty damn good 3 anyways, all right?
Look, 2 more quick points before we break. 1, Odell Beckham Jr.'s body language suggests he is frustrated. And there was a moment where a ball was tipped in the air on the drive where he had the face mask foul, which that face mask may be a sign of frustration. Hey, it's about time I get the ball. We're down 10-0, and I don't touch the ball, and now I finally get it on this stupid little screen pass where I can run for 1 yard. A ball's tipped in the air, and there was kind of a little semi-alligator arm.
Yeah, a little
attempt
hesitation
by him
there,
to go
yeah.
get it. Yeah. And that's you're one of the great receivers in the game. You don't expect that little half alligator arm when there's other guys swarming around. The drop was troubling. Everything was troubling. And here's the other thing, too, Chris. They got this whole array of receivers.
Yeah.
They paid all the money to Austin Hooper, the tight end they plucked away from Atlanta. They don't need any of those guys. You know what they do? What they could have They could have won that game if they had just run the ball and run the ball and run the ball to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, because the Ravens couldn't stop them. They stopped themselves when they got away from the running game and decided they're going to throw the ball down the field. And Baker Mayfield's missing all these great weapons, and either they're not getting to where they need to be or he's not throwing it accurately. But the drive sputtered when they tried to pass.
Yeah. I was a little surprised with how many times I saw drop back passes and things like that too. This is one of the reasons, listen, I'm not a huge fan of the Kevin Stefanski offense. You know that. I made that known when he got hired. I did think there was maybe a chance for success because Stefanski's stubbornness and willingness or whatever to just run the football. And I thought, ooh, that could set up for Cleveland because they've the last 2 years have had a very good run-blocking offensive line. And you just mentioned they got a two-headed monster, a running back that's special. So I thought, ooh, if he plays through that, they might be able to just survive in the simple passing schematics of the Stefanski offense. But we're seeing for the second year in a row, and I know this is only game one, but the head coach sees those toys and they just can't help themselves. And they want to throw the ball when they should run it and, stay patient. Hey, play with the strength of your team and play through that, and that's going to open up more things. But we'll see where it goes. This is going to be interesting. They're too talented of a team to be getting blown out by Baltimore 38-6. I don't give a damn, new coaches, whatever it is. That team is too good and too talented to be losing that way on Sunday.
Well, if they would have stuck with the running game, stick with what's working. See, that's the problem. You spend all that time and effort concocting this convoluted game plan, and then you get to the game, and everything changes. Just like Baker Mayfield was saying. You have everything schemed up. You get to the game, it changes. When you get to the game, you got to be ready to pivot to what works. And if the passing game isn't working and the running game is, keep running the ball, because by the fourth quarter, think about how Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt could have worn down the Baltimore Ravens defense and demoralized them. But no, they had to pass, they had to throw, they had to use those toys, those weapons on offense. And that's the problem of having that many great players. You get yourself in a spot where you have to keep them all happy because you don't want to have a problem in the locker room. And now you do because you lost. And I think they need to pivot Thursday night to Chubb and Hunt and Chubb and Hunt. And if they do that, they're going to be more likely to beat the Cincinnati Bengals.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.